Yes, sir. Welcome into the PHNX Rising podcast. Appreciate everyone joining us. We are live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. Of course, make sure to stop on into your local Circle K. Grab a nice 79-cent Polar Pop, 69 cents for a nice deal. Ooh. If you're Inner Circle members, I am Max Simpson, and I'm joined by Mr. Owen Evans, and Owen, it's been a time if you're a fan of Phoenix Rising. Fair to say?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Hop in the chat. Let us know how you're feeling right now, everybody, please.
Yeah, this is it's there's a lot to digest, right? And I feel we've been saying that now for the last, well, at least week, maybe two, but realistically, probably the last couple months. Right? There's a lot going on. We will be getting into today a bit, breaking down further Phoenix Rising's 2-1 loss to San Antonio FC, and then kind of talking a bit further about what the next couple weeks are gonna look like and what's kind of already happened.
Does anyone really know at this point?
Who knows? It's gonna be a speculative podcast for sure. But I mean, right, Owen. Before we kind of dive into the nitty gritty,
well, there's one answer.
Yeah, sad. There we go.
Yeah,
yes.
There we go.
Yes. Before we kind of dive nitty gritty into the recap of San Antonio match, like again, we were kind of saying going in, you might learn some things from this club with Diego Gómez in charge in the interim role, but also it's going to be one where it's a feeling out process. It's kind of hard to go into that match, how you're going to play the lineup and what it's going to mean moving forward. Did you learn anything from this club from a personnel standpoint that A, we didn't know before, and B, anything that's like relevant moving forward at this point?
Well, they fought in the second half. Mm-hmm. I'll give them that. They fought in the second half. They didn't collapse in a way that they could have. Was it good enough overall? No, it wasn't. Mm-hmm. Were there moments where I think we all saw some of the bigger problems we've seen in this club from day one? Yeah. Was there also elements of, I mean, what you look at just where things went wrong, right? And your ability to contain Jorge Hernandez, that's a big one. And when you're going against San Antonio, it's kind of the most critical one as well. They couldn't do it. And that's what results in a loss away from home against a bad team that has not been doing well this season, that has lost 5 games on the bounce before they faced Rising, in which case they managed to win. Look, does it tell you a whole lot necessarily? No, but it tells you one thing, which I think in my mind is that Danny Stone alone probably isn't going to be what you'll find is the problem with this team long run. And the replacement of Danny Stone alone will not resolve, I think, the problems that this team is struggling with. Obviously, we also had the elements of the 2 players that were missing, one of whom has now already left the club. Devin bringing that up in the chat, and I'm sure we'll get on to Erickson
he
later
passes.
on.
He's no longer with the club. Just to call that out.
It's pretty interesting there. I will say right off the bat that my understanding is that this was something that Gallardo wanted, and wanted for a little while. So again, right, in terms of things like family, those are all factors that impact players, right? I wouldn't necessarily read too much into it as though this is a current scenario kind of thing going on. But I will say that obviously it doesn't always come off the best when that kind of stuff happens right around this kind of time of, in the nicest possible way, chaos at this club.
Yeah, it's a fair point, right? I mean, it's right, and we kind of touched upon it. You've touched on it in a couple tweets, right? Erickson Gallardo, a guy who He's had some moments for this club, but even if the underlying stats don't necessarily prove it, he's a guy who, he did have a
but
kind
here's the
of cause
thing.
some trouble. Was
Here's
a pest,
the thing.
so to say.
I think the underlying stats do. It's the actual output that doesn't.
Sure.
When you look at his underlying stats and the way that he is, pretty high up there in terms of chance creation, pretty high up there in terms of expected assists. His crossing was among the better players on this team. He's someone who had a role to play in terms of at least a per 90 minutes kind of scenario. When you look at his stats. And you almost look at those underlying numbers and say, well, to be fair, if you need people to step up, there's a chance that he may well be one to step up, especially given, right? You have to put that into context. Output, I often caution people against relying too much on some of those underlying numbers and not on the actual output. But on things like assists, I think the underlying numbers do matter a lot. And the reason for that is because at the end of the day, you don't control whether your assist is going to happen or not.
Sure.
You put the ball across to somebody else, they put it in the back of the net or they don't, but that's on them to score that opportunity. If you're creating the chances, if you're putting people in the right positions to get there, as long as the club handles itself in a smart way in terms of the people that you are feeding the ball to, and you have the right people there in those places, you will regress towards the mean you'd have thought on those numbers. Sometimes expected goals, not quite the same, because obviously you can underperform that or overperform that just based on your own personal skill.
Yeah, no, very much so. I mean, he's a guy who he converted one of the penalties in the 2023 USL Championship final. He created a chance in that match, 2 or 3 dribbles completed, had a couple shots, few of them on target, right? I mean, he's a guy who, again, those are, you mentioned, right? Some of the underlying stats back up that even if the top level stats are not necessarily it, he brings a lot to the table. We do have a super chat from Harry. I really appreciate it. Harry with the $20 super chat. The cost to get a picture with the MVP of PHNX Sports, a.k.a. Owain.
I had a picture with Harry. Did you see it on Twitter?
I did see that. It's always nice, Harry, who
in the rain.
Again,
in the rain.
supports San Antonio, everyone. For those who are not aware by now, Harry supports San Antonio.
You wouldn't have told that by the profile picture there either. The big.
Well, but if you're listening
Max
on
would
audio,
charge 200. What do you think, Max?
No, what would I charge?
Max
200
is charging.
For a picture? I would not charge anything for
and then take a blurry picture.
One of those things may be true.
Appreciate you, Harry. It was good to see you in San Antonio. Hopefully, if it happens again, the weather will be nicer next time.
There it is.
Not quite so rainy and
That's fair.
And hopefully the football will be a lot better for both sides as well.
Yeah, 100%. So kind of dealing with the fallout of the match. I mean, Stay Reese, who's in the room with us, right? He pulls up a stat that this is kind of a tough time for Rising. 4 straight without a win. The last streak that was longer than this was right before the 2023 playoff run. So that's one of two things: either it's only going to get worse, or it's only going to get then a little bit better afterwards, right?
Yeah, neither of those things necessarily actually kind of draw you in any particular line. I mean, you'd expect worse or better is got to be it. It could stay the same.
Very well could.
Could stay the same. Look, at the end of the day, this team is, I think, floundering a little bit right now. It's understandable they wouldn't necessarily have a clear and obvious direction last week. The rationale for that, of course, is the fact that you don't have a permanent head coach in place, right? And Diego has his own ideas, has his own way of doing things, but Diego at the same time doesn't have the time and the freedom necessarily to build a project in the way that you'd hope that a head coach would be. Look, there's a lot of things going on. I also think that not having Gallardo available selection, obviously he was not with the team. We understand why he was not available for selection. Panos Amanakis, an entirely separate question, entirely separate. I think set of circumstances to what we've seen with Ericsson Gallardo. And quite frankly, a massive miss for this team.
Yeah.
To not have him available for selection, you just look at the underlying numbers. This man is the biggest chance creator per 90 on the team by a long way. Okay, second place is Gabby Torres. You've got to add 40% of Gabby Torres' extra on top to get him up to.
Yeah.
To what?
I mean, to not even be named in the squad.
One taken was not available for selection, and obviously that leads to the speculation, right? And when you don't give reasons, it's kind of that thing, right?
You got to control the narrative.
Who'd expect? They haven't controlled the narrative at any stage of this.
That's what I'm saying, though. You got to.
At no point in this, Phoenix Rising controlled the narrative, right? And it's.
I disagree.
That's probably, I think, where the biggest frustration has to come from a. Let's be real here. Let's be real. I think we're probably controlling this narrative more than Phoenix Rising. And I don't know if they're trying. Are they trying right now to even do anything?
I don't think so. Because very much so. Like, listen, there are things
they won't address half the stuff.
It's not like the opportunities weren't there, right? When you're asking the question directly to Diego, why was Panos not included? When he kind of
there's no further comment on it. Yeah,
sure. When you kind of give a more basic kind of high overall, we're not going to go into specifics reason. When not saying this has to be the next course, but like when there is no statement, when it's kind of just from all types of mediums in front, it is kind of business as usual, wash, rinse, repeat. And then, oh, by the way, announcing, the next dollar beer night. Listen, I'm not saying things like that are necessarily related, but it kind of seems like this happened, boom, then we're moving on. And I just don't think you're going to be able to sweep these things under the rug.
The hardcore fan base aren't. No. The hardcore fan base aren't going along with you right now. I'm saying
that's what the club seems like they're trying to do.
I seem to think it maybe. Yes. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's harder to address it. I will say that, again, in fairness, Bobby did sit down for the interview with us very shortly after when they fired Danny.
Yeah.
In this case, right? So I understand that, and they did go out and do it. I don't think that it was a very awkward scenario for him to be in. To be fair, I don't think it was kind of one of those ones whereby you're in a bad position whether you do it or you don't. So I don't necessarily envy that position, but at the same time, look, it just feels like every time. I mean, again, goodwill has been smashed, right? I brought this up in the column that I wrote, and if you haven't read it yet, you can go over to gophnx.com. It's available there for free. If you enjoy the writing, there are of course many other writers on there. You can sign up for a diehard membership while you're there. Might as well. A free t-shirt. Hey, you can get a t-shirt. Yeah.
We're matching.
There we go. We're matching actually today. But head on over to gophnx.com, give the column a read, and I said in there that, like, you look at this and Bobby Dooley, I don't think had a lot of goodwill with the hardcore fan base. 2022 kind of killed that. I don't think he ever really recovered. I don't think they ever really liked him after that point. We have to be real about this. I think that this whole situation with Danny Stone has revealed what I've long suspected, which is that the fan base tolerated him during good times and were waiting for an opportunity to kind of snap back again. Although I think it's expanded more now than it was back then. Sure. I think this is a more unanimous view, more unanimous than it was in the past.
But you said Danny Stone. I believe you mean Bobby Dooley.
Bobby Dooley,
yes,
sorry, the goodwill.
Yes.
Don't confuse that. No, the fans love Danny.
Just making sure.
Bobby Dooley. After what happened in 2022 with the poor season, with Rick, with the way that Rick was let go, the amount of time it took, the way that I think a lot of people felt like he was a bit asleep at the wheel. They wanted him gone as well. And they threw the bone then of getting rid of Rick. I don't think the negative feelings about Bobby ever really went away. Brandon was more well regarded, I thought. Not necessarily fully trusted. I mean, obviously, we know the comments that were made in the interview were backheeled, and we know that it was well, I don't think that people, look at me different because I don't have a background in this sport. And I don't think that's true. I think they did.
Yeah.
I think that if you, I don't understand how you believe that people didn't look at you a bit differently because of that. And I really do think that the fan base thought it was a bit weird. But there was still an element of goodwill there. There was understanding that he'd come on social media. He'd be quite open with them. And now it feels like every time he does, he's just getting mocked.
Yeah.
There's been a clear change there. And how you rebuild that goodwill, I don't know if you can. I don't know how you do it. It's pretty messy, right? It's pretty nasty.
Yeah.
It's completely caused a rift down there to the degree that, again, you're like, how do you fix it? How do you fix that?
Yeah, it's it's a murky one for sure. I mean, listen, it's the old adage, right, is winning cures everything until it doesn't, or until you stop winning. And the club finds itself in really both of those kind of scenarios, right? As your column noted, and I know we're going to get into it even further throughout tonight's podcast. But you know, on the pitch, this club is not, you know, winning enough to paper over any cracks that may be there, and they're showing. Off the pitch, you know, you kind of wrote a bit about the kind of convergence between how on pitch things are not performing well, but then that kind of flows into this a messy situation where the club has not been supporting from a personnel standpoint. And I think you kind of get into the scenario where you can say, as a president, you can say, from Bobby's perspective, you can say from Brandon McCarthy's perspective, from the sporting director, that you listen to fan feedback, you welcome it, and everything like that. But I think there comes a point where even if that is all well and true, the actions are going to build things up and back things up further than what your word says. The actions have not been there when it comes to where you're looking to support this club from a personnel perspective, and really from investing within the fans from the player personnel side of things. There have been improvements in different things from other sides of the field, but if you're talking about supporting the team from an on-pitch perspective, it's been lacking, and that's where fans are frustrated.
It has. Look, and people are bringing up a few different things in here in the chat. You know, I'll address some of those now in a minute. So Bonnie there with 2 Phoenix Rising forwards, Cabral and Formella. Yeah, pretty much. Depending on, I mean, again, it's a difficult one because it depends on how you classify who's a forward and who's not, right? And especially the way the game has gone now, people really blur the distinctions on times between those.
Guys who can do a
used
job,
to be kind of like
wingers,
and whether they count as forwards or not.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I think it's 2 forwards.
Yeah,
Cabral, who is a typical number 9, Formella, who can do the job.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. I would agree. In terms of D. Gully's comment, is it possible ownership is giving Dooley McCarthy any funds, isn't giving them any funds to acquire additional talent? I mean, yeah, it's possible. However, as they now speak about how they're going to bring in new players, probably, you also note that should note that they are obviously, or should be aware of the budget at the start of the season. And again, if it's being overspent on certain players, that's also on them to step up and handle that. I mean, again, from a business side, right? You'd have thought that's where the real influence of they should come in. Brandon McCarthy was a board member of this club for a while. He's got an ownership stake in this club. I mean, if he can't convince the owners to give money over, then I don't know who can, or who exactly they're going to listen to be frank. I mean, it's entirely possible. I wouldn't call it likely. And especially given that this club, by and large, I don't think has been one to shy away from spending money in the past. Sure. I'd be surprised. Brett there with not sure Brandon can rebuild trust at this point, needs to go to just being an owner. Thank you for your comments there, Brett. Darren, that'll be a night. Next match will be great for the fans and the ticket revenue. I mean, it'll be interesting. I'll put it that way. Yeah. Not least with, I think, growing discontent, the idea that you're just going to give people a load of beer and it'll keep them happy. I tell you what, drunk people get mouthy. Don't
say.
Yeah. And Samantha in there who's watching along. Hi, Samantha. Are you going to say hi to Samantha? Because she said hi to you by name, Max.
You give me a chance to. Hey, what's up, Sam? How's it going?
There we go.
Yeah.
And then Devin asking, what's for dinner, Max?
Tread carefully.
Tread carefully.
I don't know why I would need to tread carefully. I made dinner, actually.
Did you?
It's already made.
Nice for you to finally step up for a change around
Max,
the house.
Are you not going to ask Sam to, like, put it on for you and heat it up or something?
Doesn't need to do anything.
Because you've done that before.
Doesn't, no, I what do you, no, you say nothing.
I'm just happy. I'm just happy that, you're finally helping out around the house for Sam for once.
I'm just a guy stepping up here, just like Phoenix Rising needs to do, just like Circle K can do. They can step up. They can provide food. They can provide drinks, everything like that for only 79 cents. That's what a Polar Pop is. Damon, if you don't mind, would you mind trying to toss a little peanut butter pretzel my way? Here we go. This is going to be
catch it with your mouth, Max. Catch it with your mouth.
This is going to be a bad medium for audio. Here we go.
Catch.
Oh, that ain't Justman. Let's go.
You got it at all. Wow.
That was a hell of a grab, Max.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I can tell you're enjoying that.
I'm going to be honest. It was a little salty, but it was good. It was well worth it. Anyway, you can get those delicious Polar Pops, those peanut butter pretzels, and more from our friends at Circle K. 79 cents, again, get you a Polar Pop, 69 cents. Pretty nice deal. If you're an Inner Circle member, get that discounted one today. Again, get that Inner Circle program. Save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. It's super easy to do. Go ahead and check out Circle K and their Inner Circle program. Terms and conditions do apply. See store locations for details. Also, check out our friends.
The truth comes out. He was forced to help because I've been out of town, says someone throwing the chat.
I still did
the truth comes out.
I still did it. I did my job.
You're taking some right stick in the chat, mate.
When am I not? Come on now. Also, check out our friends at Valley Taproom. Valley Taproom, they are a great locale for, everything, right? Little beers, little wine, slushies, 2 locations, Gilbert and Queen Creek. Great place to watch little Euros. We're going to get in that a little bit later. Little Copa going on right now. I believe it was, 1-0 last we checked. Argentina over
we didn't
Canada.
look since half-time, and we came in here 2-0 now.
2-0 now,
Messi got
right?
game number 2.
You can check everything going out on Valley Taproom. 2 locations, again, Gilbert and Queen Creek. Check them out at valleytaproom.com. And, of course, find them in person at those 2 locations. Follow them on social at Valley Taproom. Yeah, man, kind of going back to really this whole dichotomy. I mean, the chat, by the way, you guys are absolutely crushing it. I think there's just... It's tough. I think the thing that people are going through, and you really kind of hit it in your article, is this is not something that has been, just to this season. This is something that's been building over the last couple of years, and I think we're just kind of now at a point where the first incarnation of Phoenix Rising and the winning, it has very much worn off. It kind of ended within that Rick era. Comes in Juan Guerra, as you mentioned in your article, as we've said before, the man management where he's able to essentially make the team better than the sum of its parts is really not necessarily the average or the norm. He really was exceptional in that. He then leaves, and Danny Stone, again, did what he could. As you mentioned, point out in the article, there are points where does he maybe, does he have some part in this, and he maybe was able to not get the most out of what he was given? Sure, you can very much make that argument, but kind of in the situation where he's left with what's in the cupboard, it's already a little bit empty, and knowing that there is a difference from Juan Guerra and what he left behind, you're left with a situation that Phoenix Rising, kind of rudderless right now. You can't really bank on your old past experiences and your successes. You're not really in the position from, yes, you have a ton of talent, but you're still missing pieces, and you're kind of left with whoever comes in next, whatever that looks like, you have your work more than cut out for you with an ownership and a leadership team that what are we going to see, man? What's the process moving forward?
I don't know.
Yeah.
No one knows. No one knows right now. I'll tell you what, though. There is one thing that's in the immediate, I think, peripheral vision that people are obviously a little bit worried about. And if you scroll a little bit up the chat, you will see this. And it was from Brett there saying, Brandon and Bobby also need to know that if they ship Panos out, we riot. And obviously, we've seen a lot of comments about Panos Hamanakis. He wasn't involved in the last matchday squad. He was described as not being available for selection with no further comment given. I think it kind of needs to be said here that when someone is so talented and is achieving as much as Panos does, that any attempt to ship him out right now is A, going to leave the fans scratching their heads, B, is going to probably seriously have a detrimental effect on the on-field product, and C, just paints you as being incredibly unserious. Like, how are you selling this project if you're going to come out with things like, well, we'll ship them off for what reasons? What sporting reasons are there right now to do this? What are you going to?
I don't know how you spend
actually,
that.
I don't know what rationale you give.
I don't. Yeah.
At this point for that one, so I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure the club will do what the club loves to do, and we'll see what that may be. Especially at a position now whereby something like that, I'll make this clear now, that is a serious club direction decision.
It is.
To go with. And you're going to make that without a manager in place. While at the moment, I mean, if that's the case, that's insanity. Because the decisions right now are being made by quite frankly, by sporting director senses, a relatively underqualified one.
Yep.
Still finding his feet to an extent, right, in the role. Not a lot of experience in this sport. And by a club president who has been around for a while but only ever played the game up to Division 2 college level. I find that one just intriguing, the idea that such a big decision on, I think, where the club's going would be done potentially before a manager came in. Now, of course, this could all be for nothing. He could be going nowhere.
Sure.
He could be staying here, and it's for other reasons that were not put out there. But that doesn't mean that is what's happening. We'll have to wait and see, won't we?
Oh, God.
We'll have to wait and see. Again, I just feel as though... I mean, Satori's coming here. Far-fetched shortboard if they're trying to tank Rising to be able to get out of the responsibility and sell. Just sell anyway. I mean, you don't want to be here. You can sell. It's not hard.
Yeah.
Like... The idea that this club being tanked would help you sell it, I don't think is true.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know right now. I don't find this whole position the club is in right now to be a particularly tenable direction, I think, going forward. I think they're going to have to really, really think long and hard about the decisions they're making right now and the decisions they're going to make over the next few weeks, because these are going to be really, really critical, I think, in terms of the way this turns. We've always said that the Rising fans are, I mean, they're among some of the most passionate, right? And people say that. The club says that when it suits. The thing about that passion is that it very quickly turns. The idea that there's loyalty to management at the club is just not true. There's not. And in terms of, you know, where they go from here, you're either going to choose to take the fans with you, or you're going to really, really risk a very, very nasty few months to the end of the season, and then who even knows what happens thereafter.
I think the issue, though, that you have is, listen, this is, you know, whether people like it or not, whether people agree with it or not, this is another new era in Phoenix Rising's history. It is another fresh start in Phoenix Rising's history. Again, whether you like it or not, I think no matter who you bring in and no matter what decisions are made over the next coming weeks, I think the point at which that, you know, the fan base is at, the point at which the damage has kind of been done is, I don't think there's really any coming back, in the sense of no matter how much winning goes on, no matter how many new heights you can achieve, I don't think you're really able to fully shake what has happened and what has gone down and how this has been kind of perceived throughout the fan base for numerous years is now kind of being more fully flushed out. And I think the fact that this is where we're at now, I just don't know if there's any more papering over.
Yeah. I don't know if there is. This is a really, really negative vibe among the fan base. It's not hard to see. Go on social media anytime the club posts anything.
Yes.
You see it there.
As you mentioned,
right
unified across all fronts.
It's
of
a
Phoenix
surprising one,
Rising
because they don't. These guys don't agree on stuff.
No.
These guys don't agree on stuff. No. It's pretty miserable normally. They just argue with each other all the time. Look, I don't know. It's just messy in terms of, I don't know how you rebuild some of these relationships now. When relationships can take months and weeks and years to build.
You gotta earn it every day.
And you can destroy them very quickly. And I don't see the rebuilding of some of these relationships now. Again, the sheer amount of mockery right now, that's often a point, isn't it? When you start getting mocked, you've lost those people. They're not coming back. You've lost them, full stop. And how many people now are just mocking constantly that you see?
I don't think I've ever seen a sentiment, no matter how poor things have gone. I don't think I've seen a completely unified.
I've never seen it this bad.
Not just so unified, and not just so unified in like the negative sentiment, but so unified in a negative sentiment over, oh, we're not sure where it's being directed at. No, it's very, very clear where it's being directed at.
Oh, it's incredibly clear. Yeah. And it's two very specific people. And again, I don't know how you rebuild that relationship. And I mean, if you want to tell me you don't care about that relationship, go ahead and do it. But I just don't think anyone really believes that you don't care, because you kind of have to. Your club's future is reliant on some of those relationships.
Yeah.
But I'm shocked. I'm shocked that it's continuing to get this bad, and yet it just feels as though the club isn't fully ready to recognize that. And I don't know if that's arrogance. I don't know if it's just the hubris from inside the club and certain elements of the club that refuses to recognize that. I mean, I have to be perfectly honest with you. I remember probably shy of a few weeks, maybe a month max.
So
thanks, Max.
Had to.
The just seriously vociferous defending of Rick Shans within that club in certain elements. There was people would like, trust me, the discussions I had with certain people in that club about him and decision makers now, and the strength of argument over how no, everything's good, everything's fine, I don't see a problem, and then it collapsed so very quickly.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know where it goes. And Tori again with the, I'd call it foaming at the mouth. Are we going to keep doing the foaming at the mouth thing? I mean, you can go for it if you want. And Devin's right. There's been a lot of mockery online. It's going to keep happening, I think. I do think it'll keep happening. I don't think you can put this one back in the bottle right now. I think it's out and it's there.
Yeah.
And again, it comes from the fact that this team has been, in the nicest possible way, mediocre with a 4-game stretch accepted for about a year and a half now.
Yeah. It's also, I mean, but I think it even goes beyond that. There have been different downturns within this club's history, and I think almost most times there's a valid-ish reason for it, right? You've seen 2022. The Rick Shantz era has run its course, right? Naturally, no matter what you want to call Phoenix Rising, if you're going to throw out the word dynasty or contender from that level, yes, you can say what they didn't win, but from a competitive standpoint, they were one of the best year over year within USL championship from that time period, right? So that kind of ran its course, have their players, it's natural, whatever. 2023 comes in. Yes, you referenced the poor form and, even at times of middling team outside of the playoffs. Totally fair. One could make the argument that, hey, there was a fully revamped team coming in, taking time to gel, everything like that. This season, there is nothing that you can really say that justifies that to me or to the fans, right? You have, yes,
they've gone backwards.
And that's just it. You have a new coach coming in, but in the sense of you have most of the key players from in a lot of ways, I'm getting there, from the defense and midfield, you've been bolstered there, but you've lost so many people in the attack. They were not brought back. Nope. And what you have is you're just in this situation where you can't blame it on things running its course. You can't blame it on an entirely new roster. What you can, that a new roster that takes time to gel, what you can blame it on is you lost so much goal output. I know you referenced it in the article, but there's an insane amount of goals,
39
chances created
between 3 players,
chances created, and assists. Everything.
And one of those went to another team in this league.
Yes, that's the other frustrating part. But the fact that is the keyest thing is there's not some key demarcation of, oh yeah, we lose those players, but like business is normal. That to me is where the issue is. It's not a changing of the guard, an era over. It's not a completely reshuffled team and it needs time. It's the fact that you're in this third bucket that to me is not defendable, where you have most of your guys brought back, except for these 3 really important ones that you don't really try to replace, because the big thing as well is, oh, we're giving people internally a chance, knowing full well what they do and do not bring to the table.
Yeah, no, entirely. And I'm lost. I'm lost as to why this club is taking the direction that it's taking right now. It feels as though at a time of, again, I mean, we mention it a few times now in terms of the pressure that they're going to have. There's a team potentially or is a consortium looking to build a stadium in the East Valley, and they're going to want to bring in Donovan's not being hired as head coach. Sly, I'd be incredibly shocked if he was. But trust me, I've heard people in the club and what they say about Landon Donovan. I don't think he's getting the job.
I don't think his hair plugs are going to plug in a gas.
Nice little distraction there on this one, but obviously there's talk of a development in the East Valley and a stadium that could be built by a group that are going to consider trying to lure in an MLS team. And amid that, you're going to, just drive wedges in the fan base right now. And it feels like it's just the perfect excuse to a perfect way to, just kind of really cause this club some issues going forward.
I think the other thing that's frustrating, and listen, this is not unique to this team. I think you don't see it enough in sports and really just in a lot of aspects. If you swing and miss, and probably in this case, very much knowing that, listen, to Bandidos Bluebirds' point, you did not replace Danny Trejo, Manuel Arteaga, Carlos Harvey. If you know you swung and miss, I'm not saying it's going to rectify. I'm not going to say it's going to rectify everything, but if you take responsibility, at least you are owning up. Hey, doing this thing didn't make it happen, and there's a plan moving forward.
Would you see some people mocking Brandon? Yeah, of course you would. But would you see? I think the kind of vitriol that he gets now when he tweets. Would you see that? No, I don't think you would.
It's a very.
I think that's the thing is that because that relationship now feels like it's been somewhat just poisoned. That now. It's too late, and you have a chance to save face with some of it by appearing genuine, and I think that's the biggest thing here, right? Again,
it's not hard.
You can make a case for why Danny Stone had to go. You may agree with it, you may not, but you can make a case. But the idea that you can sit here and not come up with a good reason, or you can't give expect some degree of accountability from others who were involved in decision making over this period of time, and the way that it then goes on and says, no, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing, that kind of approach. No wonder people think that it's a joke.
Yeah.
No wonder people look at this and go, what's going on? Because there's the problem. It can't be consistently a collective attitude to things to then fall on the fault of one individual with not accountability for others. That's not how reality works. You can't pin this all on Danny Stone. You've never been able to pin this all on Danny Stone. But that's the image. If you want to say now, and, feel free, come out if you want and tell people that isn't the reality, that there's some other accountability going on. But if you are doing it, it's all behind closed doors. You're not showing anybody that. You're not giving the impression there's any kind of accountability there. Everything is just, well, I guess Danny screwed up, right? So I guess we move on, huh? Why don't we try and do this all again? We'll just get another coach in and we'll keep doing what we're doing. Why change anything? Why have any accountability for anyone else there? And that's why people get the way that they do. That's why you get the aggression on social media that you are getting right now, because that's the image you are giving to the outside world. And again, the fans don't buy it, nor should they. And quite frankly, if you're a manager with ambition that was looking at maybe taking this job, it's an attractive job in some ways, but you see this kind of stuff, you see the aggression that's there, and if you've got ambition, you think you can go on to a higher level, you look at this and think, is this potentially a poisoned chalice? And the reality of it is, right now, I think if you're not at least thinking it a little bit, you're probably not that good a manager. Because quite simply, if you can't put those bits together, are you going to come in and manage this team of egos? Are you going to come in and manage the egos of other people involved with the club who are going to impact on decision making? Are you going to manage any of that? And the answer, I think, is probably not. There we go. We had the rant of the day.
If you have a poison chalice, I recommend not filling it up with our friends at Four Peaks. Four Peaks is a delicious beverage that does not taste good in a poison challenge, but it tastes well in pretty much anything else you drink straight out the can.
In the can.
In a nice cold pint glass, little pitcher, anything like that. Check out Four Peaks and their Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale and the delicious flavors they have elsewhere with the Kilt Lifters, the Wows, the Hazies, all of that great stuff there. Of course, we had some watch parties. We're not talking about the USA, Boom, and all the other great stuff they have going on. Check them out at Four Peaks Brew and at Four Peaks Pub on Instagram and on socials to keep up with the latest and greatest going on at Arizona's hometown brewery. Of course, check them out at fourpeaks.com. And of course, you must be 21 years or older to enjoy responsibly. Yeah, man, that was a pretty good rant. I mean, honestly, Brett's comment hits home a lot. One of the most frustrating things to me with this season is that the club missed a huge opportunity to really capture the momentum from a title challenge, right? Like, listen, we understand it's hard to repeat in this league. It's hard to even contend the next year. But I think listen, man, I understand this club had a lot going on in the offseason. Again, as we very well documented, some of it is very much within their control and some of it's very much without of it. Okay. We're not, there is that fact, but I can't recall. I'm not going to say you have the fans and that identity is never going away, stuff like that. But I can't remember just such a complete shift in, I don't know what you want to call it. Is it like the ethos or just the kind of vibe of the team? This should be a happy season, knowing that, yes, there's stuff going on.
It's Campeones tour, wasn't it?
That's what I'm saying, man. Like, it just feels, not just from it's not just the losing. That's the thing. It's not just the record where the club sits at. It's just rudderless again, man. It's bleak right now.
No, it is, and it's pretty miserable. There was a comment a little bit further down from Tori about did they get some sort of purse for winning the championship. Look, this is why. It was a little bit further down. It was the other way. Sorry, Damon. One of the recent ones that came in. Look, in terms of did they get money in from winning the championship here, this team doesn't. There's not prize money in USL Championship, right? In fact, that's why the regular season can be quite important, because you do have to win games. You got to host playoff games. The money's in hosting playoff games. It's not in winning playoff games on the road. Yeah. The very nature of this, in terms of the way that USL Championship works from a financial perspective, you're not making money if you're playing playoff games on the road, unless you're going to find other ways of capitalizing on it as well. And I mean, overall, look, have there been improvements in some ways? Yeah, I mean, well done. They're now putting their items in different locations that they previously didn't. They got new stores signed up that sell tickets, that sell merchandise. But overall, does it feel like the needle's moving? Not hugely. It's just one of those things. And you're now getting in for a pretty miserable, dismal summer when it's hot and sticky. Yeah. Well, not sticky always, but sometimes sticky. And just grim, and you don't really want to be out there at the games, and it's really a chore sometimes to go and watch.
Yeah.
And it's amid this utter just disaster right now that's going on, it feels like. Yeah, and the question is, would you be tempted to go out and watch a game if you weren't doing this in the way that we're doing it right now?
I mean, truthfully, like I'll put it like this way, honestly. If you look at what the club has done from like a Let's separate the on-pitch stuff for a second, right?
Yeah,
you factor everything in from like the last 12 months or so, right? Maybe add a little bit more on. It's honestly been pretty solid when you think about what has happened and what they've done in a lot of senses, right? You have the move to the new stadium. You have dollar beer nights. You have the partnership with Valley Metro, with the transportation. You have so many different outlets where you're reaching out into the community, where you are looking to expand the game, where new people are attending. Yes, attendance is lower, and we're not going to paper over like it's not, but like, right, there are
there's some where it's higher.
Correct, but I guess like where it could be, right? There's like it is growing steps. This club has taken a lot of different things in order to try to transform the team experience, the stadium experience, and even from last year to this year, new stadium food options, and to varying degrees, as we all know if you're following the PHNX Rising podcast. But all that to say, like, truthfully, from a headline surface level perspective, this club has done a lot right. And yet, if you do not connect with the fans on a deeper level, all of that stuff, which in its own right is good, is all for naught if you are not listening to the core of the fan base. And again, coming across as genuine and just being like that, having that human connection. We understand that the fans are very much a part of the team. Are you going to have fans completely dictate personnel decisions and whatnot? No, but you at some level, if you are not going to address very easy, simple problems that show, hey, we are a contender, we care about this team, we're at least going to put in an honest look. And at the very least, if that doesn't go through, say, hey, hand up. Did not act correctly. We did not capitalize on that moment. We're moving on from here. We're going to improve. If you can't do any of that stuff, you just come across as tone deaf when you paint a smile on your face and say everything's fine. It's not.
No,
it's not. And that's where we are, man.
It's not.
That's
It's
the bummer.
like,
That's the
can we
bummer.
move
That's
the
the
team
bummer.
to an arena, desert diamond arenas?
No
event?
free ads.
It's not. You know,
free ads.
it's a location. It's an arena.
No free ads.
It's not a free ad. It's an
Brand
arena.
redacted arena.
That really helps people identify things,
welcome.
doesn't it, Max?
Well,
But
narrows it down.
no is what I'll say, because an ice hockey rink is 2/3 the size of the absolute minimum length that a football pitch can
Follow
be.
up. What if they play on ice?
No,
Okay.
this isn't bandy, Max. You ever heard of bandy? It's like ice hockey times football. It's weird stuff.
What?
You gotta watch this. It's good stuff. It's funny.
Oh my gosh.
What? Yeah, it's a very Scandinavian thing. Well, I'll show him some YouTube videos later. But bandy, yeah, it's like genuinely like if you've crossed football and ice hockey.
I think we've reached that point of the show.
We have.
Yeah. All right. Quick catch up everything else. Boom.
Leave a
Spain.
like. See, look how happy Max looks.
Thank you, producer Damon Dog. Spain. France.
I don't think Max has changed his shirt since
I don't
that
think he has.
picture was taken.
Wait, he may have, because didn't he ruin one of them because he got a beer sticker stuck on the back of it?
I'm pretty sure Max
then
is
put
like
it in the wash.
SpongeBob or Peter Griffin, where he just solely wears the PHNX Rising podcast shirt every day.
Yeah, he's one of those like cartoon characters where it's like they only have one
Like
outfit.
SpongeBob, yeah, I
Yeah.
just said.
SpongeBob, any of those, they are like Bart Simpson type thing. Like he just has a whole wardrobe of the exact same
Exactly. You open up Max's closet and there's a pair of khaki shorts
thing.
and a black PHNX Rising podcast t-shirt.
That's
7
all
of
he's
them.
got. Yeah, one for every day.
Spain, France finished 2-1. What do we make of that one? Spain.
I can't
Pretty
believe
good.
I'm the world's biggest Spain fan now, depending on results tomorrow.
Oh boy. Well, that leads to
I'm
the next.
also the world's biggest Dutch
That
fan right
leads
now.
to the
Did
next
you know?
question.
We are the
England-
orange wall.
We are the orange wall.
England versus Dutch. What do we got, people? What do we got?
Surely he can't prevail. Surely this man can't prevail. Southgate can't. But again, take the positives, right? Now that he's made it to a semi-final, does that mean that they might be stuck with him? They might be stuck with him for longer. What a scenario.
But it's coming. But they said it's coming home.
It's not coming home, boys. Surely not. Reese is convinced it ends tomorrow. Thank you, Reese.
It sounds like we're getting a rematch of the
You know,
2010 World
I
Cup
will
final.
say that Southgate ball is so thrilling that I did fall asleep on the plane watching it. I genuinely did. And then I woke up like 5 minutes before Switzerland scored and thought that, you know, I'd done it. Then finally, we were there, boys. And then, no, it didn't end that way, did it, unfortunately?
Owen's doing the Shaqiri celebration on a plane.
I had an empty row in the exit row there. It was just me. And you should have seen the limbs when the ball hit the back of the net when the Swiss scored. Okay? Flying over probably somewhere in New Mexico at the time, right? So the people down below are dismal
that
state.
golazo today, freaking beautiful.
Oof, what a goal. What a
Goodness.
goal.
Freaking 16.
Where are
Honestly,
tomorrow,
both
boys?
of the
16
Spanish
years
goals
old, that's
today
nuts.
just...
Honestly, yeah, even that own goal was beautiful.
I don't think they gave it as an own goal in the end, which they shouldn't have because it was going in anyway.
Yeah, I think it was on target.
It was on
I'm
target.
sure it was.
It was on target. So then you don't give it because no one... It was going in if you
The
didn't
keeper
try and
wasn't
block it.
touching
Like,
it.
No.
Yeah, they gave it to
Good
to
for him.
Almo. They didn't give it as
to
an own
Danny
goal.
Almo. Nice.
Correct decision in my view because again, it was on
Agreed.
target. It was football will never come home. It doesn't want to be there. It's an abuse house.
Oh dear gosh.
Goalie man.
Yikes. All right, so Spain fine. We're thinking right. The Dutch. So it's gonna be a rematch of the 2010 World Cup final. Going into Copa, right? Argentina still 2-0 to Canada, unless someone corrects my score there. Searching.
2-0 to Canada and it's in stoppage time.
All
so
right,
they're
so
pretty much
we're
guaranteed.
assume Argentina goes through. Then you have
Shout out to Canada, Kings of CONCACAF, right?
We had Jess in the chat, Jess Marsh. Yes, and then
Sorry, it's Jess E. Marsh.
yes, I did not. I wasn't sure whether they wanted to
Tough
pronounce
one,
the full
Canada.
syllable. Yeah, tough one, Canada.
Maybe next
And
time.
then on the other side,
I mean, they didn't lose to Panama at least,
on
right?
the other
So I
side,
guess they
you
got
got
that
an
going
incredibly
for 'em.
intriguing matchup: Colombia, Uruguay. That's good stuff.
Colombia,
That's good
Uruguay.
stuff.
You
I
ready
think-
for them?
I think Colombia might be the team to beat
Colombia,
this entire tournament.
I saw them in person. Colombia looked good. They look really good.
They're
Against
also
a very tough Panama team who valiantly knocked out the U.S. and they're a power in their
Max
own
was
right.
there like, why are Panama here? This should be us getting
I was
smacked
looking
by
at
Colombia.
Brazil, U.S.
This should be us
I had
getting
it
smacked
locked
by
up.
Colombia.
I was in 100 level section. I was feeling great. I had everything lined up, and then what did the U.S. do? They burr-halted their way out of the Copa. Yeah,
I'd argue a very underrated and gritty Panama team. I mean, just guys that just show up with their lunch pails. It's hard to blame us for losing.
really
that
takes
one.
a punch and just keeps on going. Yeah,
You got grouped by Carlos Harvey. You got grouped by Carlos Harvey.
I saw Carlos
he
Harvey
played in their final group game.
I saw Carlos Harvey sighting.
There we go, Carlos Harvey.
It was a great day.
Great guy. Great guy.
It was a great
Great
day.
player.
Yes. Thank you, Jess. Let's see. Yes, Columbia match was damn fun Saturday. It was going that bad. It was a good time. It was a good time. So then we got Devil Ranking Podcast Cup over Cup Set, which is better than Euro Semi, which is better than Copa Semi. Yes, there we go. Sweet.
Okay.
Yeah, wraps are out darn near everything. You got anything else, buddy?
Hopefully on Thursday we'll be having a celebration, and it'll be a celebration of the type that you understand what it is.
Yes.
And by that, Owen means he's painting his body orange.
I'm not going to paint my body orange because then I'm starting to worry that I'm getting into Irish politics. But hey, we'll avoid that one for now. We're not
All
doing
right,
San
I'll
Diego
just
here.
paint my body orange.
Yeah, you can
Twist
if you
my
want.
arm.
I mean, it's better than what some of the Dutch fans have been painting themselves. I'll pull it that way.
This has been the latest episode of the PHNX Rising Podcast. Appreciate everyone joining us. You can follow us at PHNX _ rising because double the underscore.
No.
Double the underscore.
No.
Double the underscore.
Just move on, Max.
Double the move on Max. You can follow me on Twitter at Max David Simpson. You can follow Owen on Twitter at OJ Evans 18. You can follow Style Like Reese at Reese 11 _. You can follow Damon Dog at Damon DAWG. You can follow Jacob somewhere. I appreciate everyone joining us again. We'll be back Thursday, 6 p.m. for everything going on. Per usual, catching you up on Phoenix Rising stuff. We don't have a match. We have a match this weekend. What a
we
weird
don't. We got a weekend off.
time.
Which means, Max, what are we doing on Sunday?
I mean, yeah, we're watching the final.
Yeah.
Boom. Yes, but we don't have the rest of the week off. Again, see you Thursday, 6 p.m. It's a beautiful game, but it's way more beautiful when it's not coming home.
We all silly like the mayor.